The view from the observation deck of the Zephyr cruiser Dominance was nothing short of amazing. Commander Zalthor stood with his three main arms crossed behind his back. The starlight that came through the huge viewport shone off of his crystalline eyes. His fleet, which consisted of 12 warships from the Zephyr Collective, floated in perfect formation, with their hulls shining like polished mirrors. Every ship was a work of art and engineering, with plasma cannons, shield generators that could withstand the edge of a supernova, and engines that could bend space itself. "Sir, we're picking up a ship coming from Sector 7, Lieutenant Vex said, her voice full of the usual Zephyr confidence that comes from working for the galaxy's most feared armada. Zalthor turned around and his face was hard to read. "Name?" "Sir, it's human." Vex's mandibles clicked in a way that could only be described as funny. "Title? The Ancient One. It looks like a cargo ship. Class? Not known. Technology from before the warp." A wave of laughter went through the bridge. Even Zalthor's serious face cracked a little. "Show it on the screen." The main screen came to life and there it was, humanity's contribution to this part of space. It looked like the Ancient One was put together from parts that were lying around in a junkyard. The hull was made up of metal plates that didn't match, and some of them were clearly welded on as quick fixes. Rust streaks ran along the sides like scars from many fights with time itself. One of the engine ports let out a blue light that flickered every few seconds. The ship's antenna array was bent at an odd angle and looked like it was held together with industrial tape. "By the ancestors," Vex whispered. "Is that thing really flying?" "Not really from what I can tell," Zalthor said, his voice full of condescension. "Open a channel. Let's find out what these people want." The line of communication came to life, and a middle-aged man appeared on the screen. Captain Marcus Webb was written on his name tag. He had tired eyes, gray hair at his temples, and a face that looked like it had been through too many years of carrying cargo through dangerous space. The bridge of the Ancient One behind him looked just as old, with analog gauges, physical switches, and screens that might have been cutting-edge 70 years ago. "This is Captain Marcus Webb of the Earth Freighter Ancient One," the human said, and his voice was steady even though he was clearly at a disadvantage. "We're on a peaceful trade route to the Epsilon Station. We don't want to hurt anyone and ask for safe passage through this area." Zalthor couldn't stop himself. He laughed and the sound was deep and resonant. It echoed through the bridge and went straight to the human ship. "Captain Webb," Zalthor started, barely able to contain his laughter, "you are flying what looks like a museum piece through space controlled by Zephyr. Your ship is, how can I say this politely, a shame to all spacefaring civilizations." Marcus Webb stood next to his first officer, a young woman named Sarah Chin, on the bridge of the Ancient One. She was in her late 20s and very good at engineering, but she was stuck on this old rust bucket because no one would hire someone who had just graduated from the academy with no experience. Jake Morrison, the navigator, sat next to her. He was a wiry man in his 40s with quick hands and an even quicker mind. There were only 2 old pulse cannons at the weapons station, and retired military officer Thomas Grant was there. He had seen better days and better ships. "Sir, they're making fun of us," Sarah whispered, her face turning red. "I saw," Marcus said quietly, keeping his face blank on the view screen. Zalthor kept attacking with words. "Captain, do those engines really work on that ship, or are you being pulled along by cosmic winds? I've seen pieces of asteroids that are more aerodynamic. How many times have you fixed that hull? 10 times? 20? 47 actually," Marcus said in a flat voice. "We've been through a lot." This made the people on the Zephyr bridge laugh again. Zalthor shook his head and said, "Humans? The funniest species in the galaxy. You barely got away from your own star system 100 years ago, and now you think you can travel through space in that." He waved his hand in front of the screen to show that he didn't care. "I'm really interested. What is the highest speed of your Ancient One? Is it even possible for it to go 0.5 light speed?" "We manage," Marcus said with care. "You manage?" Zalthor said again in a mocking tone. "How motivating. Lieutenant Vex, what is the fastest speed of our slowest ship?" "The supply frigate Swift Wind can go 47 times the speed of light, sir." Zalthor told Marcus, 47 times light speed. "And that's the ship that moves the slowest. My main ship can go faster than light. Captain Webb, when I say your ship is pathetic, I'm being nice. You're not just behind the times, you're not even on the same chart." Marcus's jaw tightened, but he stayed calm. "We just want to be safe. We're not trying to cause trouble." "Oh, you won't have any trouble with us," Zalthor said in a voice that was full of fake kindness. "We don't think your ship is a threat. I'm almost tempted to give you a ride." It would be faster than watching you limp through this area at the slowest speed that pile can manage. Sarah's hands turned into fists. Jake turned away from his navigation console, his face dark with rage. Thomas, who had fought in 3 wars and faced enemy fire, looked like he was going to punch something. "We don't want your offer," Marcus said firmly. "We'll keep going on our way." Zalthor waved his hand in a dismissive way and said, "Suit yourself. But Captain, let me give you some free advice. If you make it back to Earth, tell your people to stop embarrassing themselves. People in the galaxy already think of your species as primitive newcomers who don't know much about technology. Ships like yours only make that idea stronger." "Are we free to leave?" Marcus asked, his voice tight with anger that he was trying to control. "Of course," Zalthor said in a big voice. "We wouldn't think of making such a great ship wait. Please don't break down in our area. We don't want to have to clean up trash on our patrol routes." The channel of communication was closed. The screen went dark. The bridge of the Ancient One was quiet for a long time. Sarah then went off. "Those rude, arrogant." "Easy, Chin," Marcus said in a low voice. "Easy? Sir, they just made us look bad. They made fun of our ship Earth and everything we—" "I know what they did," Marcus said, cutting in with a calm but firm voice. He turned to look at his crew, which was made up of all 4 of the Ancient One's members. "That's not wrong about how we look. Captain," Thomas said. "Our hull is patched. Our systems are old." Marcus went on, "The equipment we're using should have been thrown away 20 years ago. We look like a joke to them. And to be honest, everyone has made fun of us. Earth Command gave us the worst directions. When we dock at space stations, we have to go to the farthest berths. On communication channels, other human ships won't even talk to us." Sarah's anger turned into sadness. "What should we do?" Marcus walked to the middle of the bridge and looked around at the worn consoles, the flickering screens and the panels that were taped together. Then his face changed. There was a small smile on his lips. He said slowly, "What we do is remember what this ship really is." Jake stopped looking at the map. "Sir?" Marcus went to a specific panel on the wall that looked like all the others. Old and not very important. He put his hand on it. A biometric scanner turned on and green light flooded his hand. There was a soft beep, and the panel slid open to show a second control panel that looked nothing like the rest of the ship. This console was sleek and modern with holographic screens and ports for neural interfaces. Marcus said, "The Zephyr fleet thinks we're pathetic," and his fingers danced over the hidden controls. "They think people are simple. They believe this ship doesn't work very well." The secret console came to life. New readouts showed energy signatures that were not typical for a freighter. "They don't know what this ship really is," Marcus said, his smile getting bigger. "They made fun of us. They made fun of us. They didn't even think we were worth their time." Thomas got up from his seat and his face showed that he understood. "Sir, are you saying?" "Yes," Marcus said, his voice full of quiet satisfaction. "It's time to show the galaxy what real human creativity looks like. How long until the Joker drive is ready to be used, Sarah?" Sarah's face went from sad to very happy. She ran to the secret console and quickly moved her fingers over the controls. "Let me do the pre-flight checks for 3 minutes." "Sir, are we really going to do this?" "They wanted to see how fast we could go," Marcus said as he sat down in his captain's chair. "Let's show them something they'll never forget. Jake, plan an escape route that goes right through the middle of their formation." "Through the middle?" Jake said it again and his eyes got bigger. "That's crazy, Captain." "That's the point," Marcus said. "Thomas, I want you to be ready to talk. As soon as we turn on the Joker, I want every word they say to be recorded. This is going to be a big deal." "With pleasure, sir," Thomas said, unable to stop smiling. Zalthor had already forgotten about the human ship on the bridge of the Dominance. Vex spoke up while he was looking over tactical reports. "Sir, the ship with people on it is changing course. Probably trying to stay away from our patrol area," Zalthor said without looking up. "Let them go." "No, sir," Vex said firmly, though her voice was shaky. They're coming right at us. They're going to the middle of our formation." That caught Zalthor's eye. He looked at the tactical display above him. The sad human freighter was indeed limping toward the center of the Zephyr fleet formation. "What are they up to?" Zalthor asked out loud. "Are they going to kill themselves?" "Don't know, sir. Should we tell them to stay away?" "No," Zalthor said, breaking the rules out of curiosity. "Let's see what these silly people are trying to do. They might want to be defiant one last time before they run away." The Ancient One kept moving steadily toward them, and its engines sputtered and flickered like they had before. To all outside sensors and to every piece of advanced Zephyr scanning technology, the human ship looked like what it was, a broken-down relic that was barely holding together. But inside that ship, in the secret compartment that Earth Command had put in 2 years ago, something amazing was getting ready to happen. The Joker drive. The propulsion system that people had made that was the most experimental, secret, and possibly revolutionary. A drive that not only moved through space but also changed the rules of movement. A drive that was so powerful, dangerous, and unstable that only one ship had ever used it. And that ship looked like the biggest joke in the galaxy. 90 seconds to activation, Sarah said, her voice steady now. All signs of her earlier embarrassment were gone, and she was now focused and professional. Marcus looked at the Zephyr fleet on his screen. 12 ships of war. Hundreds of highly skilled alien fighters. Technology that is hundreds of years ahead of what people should have. They are all about to learn a very important lesson. Don't judge a ship by its hull. The Zephyr fleet floated in perfect formation, showing how precise the military is. Every ship stayed exactly the right distance from the others, close enough to fire together but far enough apart to avoid crashing if they needed to change course. The dominance was in the middle, and its huge size made the heavy cruisers on either side of it look small. The Ancient One came toward them, limping like a hurt animal going toward a group of predators. "Sir, the human ship is now 1,000 kilometers from our perimeter," Vex said, her antennae twitching with confusion. "They're not responding to our automated warnings." Zalthor leaned forward in his command chair to look closely at the simple ship on his screen. "Open a channel. Let's see what they say to explain this silly behavior." Marcus's face came back on screen, but this time his expression was different. Zalthor couldn't quite put his finger on what had taken the place of the tiredness that had come with defeat. "Captain Webb," Zalthor said, his voice full of fake patience, "you are getting close to a Zephyr military formation. This is very unusual and could be dangerous, for you, I should add. I strongly suggest that you change your course before something bad happens to your already weak ship." "Just passing through," Marcus said without any other words. Everyone on the Zephyr bridge laughed. "Are you just passing through?" Zalthor said it again, this time with real laughter. "Captain, you do know that passing through a military formation is seen as an act of aggression, right? We could sink your ship in a matter of seconds." "You could try," Marcus said. The laughing stopped. Zalthor's eyes, which were like crystals, narrowed. "Excuse me?" "I said you could try," Marcus said again, this time calmly. Vex's mandibles made a quick clicking sound, which is a sign of agitation for Zephyrs. "Sir, is he going to hurt us?" Zalthor looked closely at the human's face. Was this a death wish of some kind? Misunderstanding of culture? He had worked with hundreds of different species across the galaxy, and humans were known for being unpredictable, but this was too much even for them. "Captain Webb, I'm going to assume there was a mistake in the translation," Zalthor said slowly. "You're on a cargo ship that looks like it barely made it through a black hole. We are 12 military ships with enough firepower to destroy a small moon. You can't be saying that you could." 60 seconds, Sarah's voice said in the background of the human bridge. Zalthor got it. 60 seconds to what? Marcus just smiled. "You'll see." Zalthor snapped, "This is ridiculous," as his patience finally ran out. "Lieutenant Vex, aim for their engines. Shot that doesn't kill. Let's stop this nonsense before." "Sir." Vex cut in, her voice sharp with worry. "I'm picking up an energy spike from the human ship. It's huge. I don't understand the readings." "What kind of energy spike?" "I don't know. Our sensors can't tell what it is. It's not plasma, fusion, zero-point energy, or anything else we have in our database. No one knows what the signature is." Zalthor got up from his chair and focused all of his attention on the tactical display. The human ship's energy output was going up very quickly. No matter what was going on inside that rusty old ship, it was making power levels that shouldn't be possible for a ship of that size and level of technology. "All ships raise shields," Zalthor said. "Hit the human ship. Get ready to shoot when I say so." 12 Zephyr warships in the fleet turned on their defensive systems. Around each hull, energy barriers appeared and glowed. The weapon ports glowed with building energy. There was now enough military power around the Ancient One to start a small war. And it kept coming, steady and slow. 30 seconds, Sarah's voice said over the open channel. Zalthor said in a hard voice, "Captain Webb, this is your last warning. Shut down any system you're turning on or we'll shoot." Marcus said, "Do what you have to do. We're just passing through." "These people are crazy," Vex said. "People are really crazy." The tactical officer said, "Sir, the energy spike is getting stronger. It's now 400% higher than their last maximum. 500%. 600, sir, this can't be done. That ship shouldn't be able to hold this much energy without blowing up. Zalthor's mind raced. What did they not have? The ship looked old, basic, and barely worked. The weapons they had were a joke. They probably didn't have any shields. It was clear that their engines were old. Every sensor scan confirmed what they saw. This was a garbage freighter that should have been taken out of service decades ago. But the readings of the energy were correct. Scan that ship again, Zalthor said. Analysis of the full spectrum. Learn what they're keeping from you. Scanning now. Sir, the hull's makeup is messing with our sensors. There is too much metal trash and patchwork repairs. We're getting a lot of scatter interference. Then scan harder. 10 seconds, Sarah's voice rang out, and there was no doubt that she was excited. The hidden console on the Ancient One's bridge was now fully operational, with holographic displays showing complicated math problems and power flow diagrams that would have confused even the best scientists on the Zephyr. Sarah's hands moved over the controls with practiced skill, making tiny changes to the Joker Drive's containment fields. She said, "All systems green. Joker Drive is fully charged. Containment is stable. Captain, we're ready." Marcus looked at the people who worked for him. Jake had the craziest course ever plotted in navigation history ready to go. Thomas had the communications array set up to record all frequencies. Sarah's finger was about to press the button that would turn it on. "Men and women," Marcus said softly, "let's show them what people can do. Turn on the Joker, Sarah." "With pleasure, sir." Sarah pushed the button. For a split second it seemed like nothing was happening. Then reality changed. On the Dominance, all the alarms on the bridge went off at once. The noise was so loud that Vex's voice was almost lost. Energy spike. Huge spike in energy. It's off the charts. I'm reading. The Ancient One was gone. Not slowly. Not slowly. It didn't speed up or use regular engines. For a moment, it was there, a target moving slowly and surrounded by the Zephyr fleet. The next moment it was gone. "Where?" Zalthor said. A sensor operator yelled, "Detecting vessel on far perimeter." "How did it?" "It's moving. Reading the speed, this can't be right. The sensors must be broken." But the sensors were working fine. The Ancient One came back on the main view screen, but this time it wasn't just one ship, it was a blur of movement. Even the Zephyr's best tracking systems could barely keep up with it because it was moving so fast. The ship sped through space like a comet, leaving a trail of broken spacetime behind it. It's going through the fleet," Vex yelled. The old human freighter did something that should have been impossible. It moved so quickly and precisely between Zephyr warships that by the time sensors picked up its location, it was already somewhere else. It got within 50 meters of the Dominance, which was close enough for Zalthor to see it through the viewport for a split second before it disappeared again. "Fire on all ships," Zalthor yelled. 12 warships fired their guns. There were plasma bolts, particle beams, and missiles in the space where the Ancient One had just been. Every shot missed. The ship moved too quickly and easily. It was like trying to hit a single photon with a catapult. The tactical officer said, "Velocity now reading at, by the ancestors, 200 times light speed." His voice broke with disbelief. 210. 250. It's still speeding up. "That's not possible," Zalthor yelled. "Nothing can go that fast. The physics don't. It's going in circles." Vex cut in. "It's coming back." The Ancient One did a turn that went against everything Zalthor had ever learned about inertia. It changed its path by 90 degrees without slowing down, going in a direction that should have torn the ship apart from the G-forces. Then it sped up again, somehow going even faster. The crew was going through something amazing on the human bridge. Even though they were going really fast and doing things that seemed impossible, the Joker Drive's inertial dampening field made them feel nothing. No pressure from acceleration, no G-forces, nothing. It seemed to them that the universe was moving around the ship instead of the ship moving through the universe. "Jake, give me another pass through their formation," Marcus said in a calm voice. "I want them to see us clearly." "Yes, Captain." Jake's fingers moved quickly over his controls. Coming around for the second pass. The Ancient One sped back toward the Zephyr fleet. This time, instead of weaving between ships, it did a barrel roll through the middle of their formation, spinning like a bullet while keeping its crazy speed. Everyone knew it was showing off. "Fire. Fire everything," Zalthor ordered in a desperate voice. The Zephyr fleet fired a barrage that could have destroyed a whole city. Thousands of guns fired in a coordinated pattern to make a kill zone that no one could get out of. It was way too much, with enough firepower to sink 100 ships. The Ancient One danced through it as if it were standing still. Impossible, Zalthor whispered as he watched his most powerful weapons harmlessly light up empty space. This can't be done. Sir, I'm looking at their propulsion signature, Vex said, her voice shaking. Traveling faster than light is not normal. It's not full technology, jump drives, or warp engines. This is not the same thing at all. They're not moving through space, they're moving through something else. A kind of slip in the dimensions? I don't even know the right words to use to talk about this. The Ancient One made one last pass, this time on purpose slowing down so that the Zephyr fleet sensors could get a clear reading. The ship stayed perfectly still in space for 3 full seconds, which is a long time in combat time. At the same time, Marcus's face appeared on the view screen of every Zephyr ship. You were talking about old-fashioned technology? Marcus asked in a polite way. About how people shouldn't be in space. About how our ship is slow and stupid. Zalthor didn't answer. His mouth moved, but he didn't say anything. The thing about people, Marcus said in a calm, measured voice, is that we don't like it when people think less of us. People have told us that we don't belong in the stars. People have made fun of us, ignored us, and treated us like kids playing with toys we don't understand. And maybe our ships look like trash. We might be able to fix things with whatever we can find. We might not have your sleek designs or your years of experience traveling through space. The engines of the Ancient One lit up with a strange light. But we're smart, Marcus said, and his voice was now hard. We're creative. We know how to make do. And we never, ever stop learning. You made a decision about this ship based on how it looked. You judged people based on how old they were. You made guesses based on what you could see. The ship sped up again, reaching speeds that made the first display look like a warm-up. That was your fault, Marcus said to end. Have a good day, Commander. Don't let any more primitive people make you feel bad. The transmission stopped. The Ancient One started to move again, and it sped up to speeds that the Zephyr sensors couldn't even try to measure. In just a few seconds, it had gone so far that even their long-range scanners couldn't see it anymore. There was no sound on the bridge of the Dominance. 12 warships, the pride of the Zephyr Collective, the most feared military force in 3 sectors, floated in space without moving or firing a single shot. They had been embarrassed. Completely, totally, and without a doubt humiliated. By a trash truck. By people. Zalthor slowly sat back down in his command chair, his mind racing to figure out what had just happened. A race that had only just figured out fusion power 100 years ago had just destroyed his whole worldview, which was based on centuries of Zephyr superiority and the absolute certainty that his people were the most advanced in technology. Sir, Vex said softly, what do we do? Zalthor looked at the empty space where the human ship had been. We report this, he finally said. We tell the collective everything. We also ask the ancestors to keep people friendly. But sir, what was that? What kind of tech? Zalthor cut in with, I don't know. And that's what scares me. The people just showed off a propulsion system that makes our fastest ships look like they're not moving. They did it with a boat we thought was junk. If that's what they can do with a cargo ship. He didn't finish what he was saying. He didn't have to. Everyone on that bridge knew what it meant. What could people do with real military ships if they could put that kind of technology on a cargo ship that they made look useless on purpose? Zalthor's fear grew as he realized that the answer was probably something the galaxy had never seen before. And the worst part? People were happy to let everyone think they were simple. They took the insults, laughed at the jokes, and let the whole galaxy think they were less than they were. Until they decided to show everyone they were wrong. Zalthor told them, log this meeting with the highest priority. Command needs to be aware. The galaxy needs to hear this. Sir, what should the log say? Zalthor thought for a long time. Finally he said, we saw a human ship today. We made fun of it, didn't give it enough credit, and looked down on it. And in response, that ship used technology that we can't explain, fight against, or match. Advice: be very careful with all human vessels, especially those that don't look dangerous. He stopped for a moment, then said quietly, and maybe it's time we stopped laughing. 300,000 kilometers away, outside the Zephyr fleet sensor range, the bridge of the Ancient One was full of joy. Sarah was really dancing at her computer. Jake threw his head back and laughed like he hadn't in years. Thomas was smiling from ear to ear as he listened to the recordings of the panicked communications from the Zephyr fleet. Did you see how they looked? Sarah shouted. Oh my God, did you see them when we went back for the second time? I've got the tactical data right here, Jake said as he pulled up his navigation logs. We hit light speed 347 times at our fastest speed. 347. Their best ship can only go up to 90. Marcus sat in his captain's chair and smiled a little. Thomas, please tell me you got all of their messages. Every word, sir, Thomas said as he opened the audio files. Want to hear the best parts? Of course. Thomas played the tape. The sounds of the Zephyr fleet's confusion, alarm, and finally, total confusion filled the bridge. Fire on all ships. Missing target with weapons. How is it going that fast? Can't get a lock on the sensors. It's everywhere at once. Not possible. That can't turn like that. By the ancestors, what is that? The crew listened to 2 minutes of the galaxy's most advanced military force basically having a breakdown, and every second of it was pure joy. Sarah wiped away tears of laughter from her eyes when the recording was over. I wish we could send this to Earth Command. They'd laugh until they died. Marcus said, Earth Command already knows, and his smile faded a little. Strategic Operations got a live feed of every second of that meeting. They might be watching it right now. That brought the mood down a bit. The crew was quiet for a moment, each of them thinking about what had just happened and what it meant. Captain, Sarah finally said, her voice more serious now. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. Why did we do that? Yes, they were rude and full of themselves. But we did show the Joker drive. The goal of this mission was to keep it a secret so that everyone would think we were just a regular cargo ship. We just showed it to 12 Zephyr warships. Everyone in the galaxy will know about this by tomorrow. Marcus nodded slowly. You're right. We completely blew our cover. Want to know why? Yes, sir. Marcus got up and walked to the window. Outside, stars flew by at speeds that would have been impossible to imagine just a few years ago. Because Earth Command made a choice. They thought it was time to stop being the galaxy's punching bag. It's time to stop taking the leftovers. Time to show everyone that people deserve respect. He turned back to his crew. That fleet wasn't going to attack us. Not really. But they stood for something bigger, the way all advanced species feel about humans. We're new here. We're not very advanced. People put up with us but they don't take us seriously. Earth Command is done with that. They wanted one perfect example, one moment that would change everything. And we just gave it to them. So we were the message, Jake said as he began to understand. This whole mission, this whole disguise, it was all for this. That's right, Marcus said. Earth Command is putting 3 more ships with Joker drives through final testing. In 6 months we'll have 20, 50 in a year. But we had to make a point before we officially showed them off. We had to show the galaxy that it's a really, really bad idea to think less of people. Thomas leaned back in his chair and looked like he was thinking. What do we do now? Now? Marcus smiled. Now we go to Epsilon Station as planned. We bring our goods. We accept your payment. We act like nothing out of the ordinary happened. Sir, everyone is going to find out what we did, Sarah said. Marcus agreed. Oh, they'll know something happened. But do they know what happened? Do they know how the Joker drive works? Can they do it again? He shook his head. Not even close. Let me tell you about the Joker drive. About what makes it so unique. He went to the hidden console and brought up a holographic display that showed the inside of the drive. It didn't look like a normal engine. It looked more like a complicated sculpture with impossible shapes. Marcus started to lecture, saying, the Joker drive doesn't work like other faster-than-light systems. Warp drives change the shape of space around a ship. Wormholes are made by jump drives. Fold drives change the layers of dimensions. All of these methods have one thing in common. They all deal with spacetime as it is. He focused on the drive's core, where strange crystal structures glowed from the inside. The Joker drive is not the same. A group of human scientists came up with it after asking a crazy question. What if there is a space between spaces? A substrate layer below our dimension where the usual rules don't apply? Sarah's eyes got bigger. Substrate space? That's what theoretical physics is. No one has ever shown that it exists. We did, Marcus said with no more than that. Or more accurately, Dr. Elizabeth Reeves did. 5 years ago, she wrote a paper that all scientists thought was impossible. She said that our universe is built on top of a substrate, which has different physical laws than the rest of the universe. Laws that don't set speed limits. That's insane, Jake breathed. It's brilliant, Marcus said. In our normal space there is a speed limit, the speed of light. That was proven by Einstein. Dr. Reeves, on the other hand, said that substrate space has no such limit because speed is defined differently there. The Joker drive doesn't make us go faster through space. It moves our ship into substrate space for a short time, where we can go as fast as we want, and then it moves us back to normal space when we want to stop. Thomas made a soft whistle. I can't even say how revolutionary that is. Marcus went on, it gets better. We don't feel inertia because we're not really moving through our dimension. There were no G-forces, no stress on the hull and nothing else. We could turn on a dime at full speed and not feel a thing. That's why we were able to do those things back there. In substrate space, momentum works in a very different way. But how does the change happen? Sarah asked, her mind racing as an engineer. Moving between dimensions should take a lot of energy. More power than a ship of this size could ever make. That's the elegant part, Marcus said, clearly proud of the technology he had been given. The Joker drive doesn't move the whole ship. It makes a bubble of space around us. We're not moving between dimensions, we're bringing a piece of substrate space with us like a protective shell. The amount of energy needed is surprisingly small. Most of the power is used to keep the bubble stable and control how fast we move inside it. He brought up another screen that showed graphs of energy use. At full speed, which is what we hit back there with the Zephyr fleet, the Joker drive uses about the same amount of power as a medium-sized fusion reactor. Not as much power as a regular military shield generator. The Zephyr fleet needed to use a lot of energy because that's how their technology works. They never thought to look for the signature of the dimensions. And even if they did, Jake thought, they wouldn't know what they were looking at. That's right. We just vanished to them. Their sensors can't pick up on substrate space. They think we disappeared and then came back using some kind of teleportation or phase technology. They don't have a way to make sense of what really happened. Sarah. Zephyr Collective Command, Central Station, 12 hours after the meeting. The emergency council chamber was built to show off power. It was 50 meters wide and had a domed ceiling that showed the whole Zephyr Collective territory in real-time holographic glory. This is where the most important decisions that affected billions of lives were made. The 12 council seats were made from crystal mined from the world where the collective was born. Each seat held a senior commander who led a major military fleet. All 12 members of the council were watching the same video at the same time. For the 5th time. Replay from timestamp 47, Counselor Mexvera said, her 3 eyes glued to the screen with an intensity that was almost obsessive. The holographic replay skipped ahead to the point when the Ancient One disappeared from the middle of the Zephyr formation. The council saw the primitive human ship disappear from one place and reappear in another place in an instant. Once again they watched it speed up to the point where their best ships looked like they were standing still. They watched it do things that broke every rule of physics they knew once more. After the replay the room was quiet. It was the heavy silence of people who had just had their whole way of seeing the world changed. Finally, Counselor Tharok spoke. His mandibles clicked slowly, which is a sign that he was thinking hard. I've read Commander Zalthor's report 17 times. I have looked at the sensor data from all 12 ships in his fleet. I've talked to our best scientists and engineers. He stopped for a moment. And I still don't know what we just saw. Mexvera said, it's clearly some kind of advanced propulsion. But the energy signature doesn't make any sense. The speed is higher than what is possible according to known physics. And the change, she pointed at the hologram which stopped moving when it disappeared. There's no curve for acceleration. The ship doesn't get any faster. It just is. Out of the blue. Another counselor said, our scientists are calling it impossible. Several team leaders have sent in reports saying that what we're seeing can't be real. One of them said the recordings had to be fake. Zalthor said from the middle of the council, they're not made up. He had been called from his fleet to testify, and he stood at attention, looking like a soldier even though he was embarrassed. I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. That human ship made us look stupid and it did it without any trouble. Mexvera asked, what does the ship look like? Your report makes it sound like it was very run down. It looked like trash, Zalthor said without beating around the bush. Fixed hull, mismatched plating, engines that flicker, and systems that are out of date. Every sign from the outside said it was barely working. Every year we scan thousands of ships and I've never seen one that was still flying that was in worse shape. And yet it had technology we can't explain, Tharox thought. Which makes me wonder, was the appearance real or was it a planned disguise? That question hung in the air like a heavy object. Another counselor asked, are you saying that the humans purposely made their ship look worthless? Tharox said, I'm saying that no species makes technology this advanced and then puts it in a ship that's falling apart. Unless the way it looks like it's falling apart has a reason. Think about what happened when Commander Zalthor saw this ship. I didn't care, Zalthor said, his voice full of shame. Everyone did. Made us laugh. We made fun of it. We didn't even think it could be a threat. Exactly. The way the ship looked was a great way to protect it. It made you think less of it. It made you feel at ease. It made you careless. Tharax showed a different view of the ancient one that showed a high-resolution scan of its hull. Take a close look at these patches. They are too perfect, too evenly spread out. Each one is carefully placed to make the most of how bad things look when they are neglected and broken. This wasn't just random damage, it was planned. The council leaned in and looked at the picture again. Tharax was correct. The pattern was clear now that they were looking for it. The rust stains didn't follow natural corrosion patterns. Instead, they followed aesthetic lines. The plating that didn't match up was actually arranged in a very artistic way. The bent antenna was bent at just the right angle so that it looked like it was broken but still worked. They made their ship look like a wreck, Mexvera said slowly as she began to understand. They wanted us to ignore them. They wanted us to find it funny. And we did what they asked, Zalthor said with a bitter tone. We gave them exactly what they asked for. We insulted them, made fun of them, and treated them with such disrespect that they had every right to protest. Another counselor asked, "What do we know about this Captain Marcus Webb?" A file showed up on the main screen. Marcus Webb's time in Earth's space fleet was surprisingly boring. He did cargo runs, moved between stations, and went on routine trade missions. Nothing about him made it seem like he was in charge of one of the most advanced ships in the world. That's another layer of camouflage, Tharax said. Check out his work from the last 3 years. All of them have been low-priority freight hauling. He has stopped at hundreds of stations in this area, and not once did anyone say anything strange about his ship or his behavior. He did a great job of playing a cargo captain who was having a hard time. For 3 years. Mexvera said. Have they been doing this operation for 3 years? At least, maybe longer. Take a moment to think about it. People saw exactly what they expected every time the ship docked at a station. A primitive human freighter that was barely holding together. Nobody looked any closer. No one did any advanced scans. No one thought that the technology behind that disguise was better than anything the collective has. The council was covered in a dark cloud of what the implications meant. One council member asked quietly, "How many more ships like this do the humans have?" Zalthor said, "We don't know. That's what scares me. They might only have this one prototype or they might have 100 of them. We can't know for sure because we've been consistently underestimating every human ship we've come across." Mexvera got a database of all the places in the galaxy where people have seen ships. There were hundreds of entries, including cargo freighters, small passenger ships, and even research ships from time to time. Zephyr databases marked all of them as primitive technology or minimal threat. She said, any of these could be another advanced vessel in disguise. Or they could all be exactly what they seem to be. We can't tell the difference. That's exactly where the humans want us to be, Tharax said. Uncertainty. Fear. Second-guessing every meeting. It's the highest level of psychological warfare. Sir, we need to talk about how to protect ourselves, another counselor said. Our current fleet formations and tactics are useless if the humans have this technology. We can't hit something that moves that quickly. We can't keep an eye on something that can disappear and come back right away. This technology makes all of our military plans based on speed and maneuverability useless. Zalthor said, I've already had our tactical division run simulations. They're not helpful. We always lose when we have to fight someone who has this kind of propulsion advantage. Very badly. The difference in speed is just too big. They're gone by the time we shoot. They're behind us by the time we move. By the time we look at where they are, they've already moved again. How about a lot of people? Someone asked. If we send out enough ships. Zalthor cut in, doesn't matter. I had 12 ships and none of them hit anything. Even if you had 1,000 ships you would still miss. You can't get around a basic physics advantage by using more of it. The council was quiet again, and each member was dealing with a truth that was becoming harder to ignore. The Zephyr Collective was no longer on top, and the balance of power in the galaxy had changed. Mexvera finally said, we need to know how this technology works. We need to get it, copy it, or at least understand it well enough to fight it. Tharax, I want your intelligence division to put this at the top of their list of things to do. We need to know more about the human propulsion system. Tharax said, already underway. But I'll be honest, early reports don't look good. Our agents on Earth say that the scientists there are just as confused as we are. The research that led to this breakthrough is very secret. We're talking about security protocols that are as good as military black projects. It will be hard, if not impossible, to get access. Give it a shot anyway. Give people reasons to do something. Pay scientists off. break into databases. We need answers no matter what it takes. Zalthor said carefully, there's another choice. We could go straight to the humans. Contact through diplomacy. Suggest an alliance or a technology exchange. Several counselors made noises of disgust. Alliance? With people? One yelled. Space travel has only been around for a little over 100 years. They have a few colonies and a small fleet. They're not important. They weren't important, Zalthor said sharply. Past tense. They are a major power as of yesterday. That one ship showed that they are one of the most dangerous civilizations in the galaxy. We can keep acting like they don't matter, or we can change to fit the facts. Tharox agreed, saying, Commander Zalthor is right. Our pride is hurt. Our pride is hurt. But those are emotional reactions, and this council doesn't make decisions based on how they feel. The important thing to remember is that people have made a big technological leap forward. We can either make them angry, which could lead to a fight we can't win, or we can treat them as equals and try to build a good relationship. Equals? Mexvera said it again, and the word was clearly distasteful. Is this the species we've been making fun of for years? Tharox reminded her, the species that just humiliated our fleet without firing a shot. Yes, those people. I know it's hard to accept, but this is how things are now. The counselors looked at each other, their alien faces showing a lot of different feelings. Pride and practicality were at odds. Fear and anger fought each other. Tradition and need were at odds. Let's vote, Mexvera said at last. Who agrees that we should treat humanity like an equal civilization and talk to them diplomatically? Slowly and with a lot of hesitation, hands began to rise. Not all at once and not with a lot of excitement, but in the end, most of the council voted yes. Mexvera said, it's settled then. Commander Zalthor, you will be in charge of a diplomatic mission to Earth. You will say you're sorry for what we did before. You will suggest that the Zephyr Collective and people have official ties. And you will try very hard to find out more about what they can do. Got it, counselor? And what about the commander? Mexvera said, her voice getting a little softer. Don't blame yourself for this. You did everything we have always done and thought was right. The people outsmarted us in terms of strategy. Take lessons from it. Make sure it doesn't happen again. Yes, counselor. It won't. When the council meeting was over, Zalthor stayed in the room for a few more minutes, staring at the frozen picture of the Ancient One on the screen. That patched-up, rusty, silly-looking ship had done more than make his fleet look bad. It had shaken the very core of Zephyr's superiority. It had shown that being older and more experienced didn't always mean being the best. It had shown that not giving enough credit was a deadly mistake. He thought about Captain Marcus Webb, the tired-looking man who had quietly put up with their insults and told them they could try to destroy his ship. He had shown the kind of restraint that showed strength instead of weakness. That human captain taught the Zephyr fleet a lesson that they would always remember. Zalthor had a feeling that lesson was just the start. 3 weeks after the meeting, the news spread through the galaxy like a wave. The Zephyr Collective's official report was leaked within hours of being classified. Then there were eyewitness reports from merchants who had been in nearby systems and heard communications chatter. Then there were amateur recordings from observation posts, sensor logs from passing ships, and finally the humans' own quiet confirmation. Yes, they said. Yes, we do have advanced propulsion technology. Yes, it works just like they said it would. No, we won't be giving out any information right now. In just a week, the way people were seen in the galactic community had changed completely. The Kreltari High Council and the Merchant Guild headquarters. The Kreltari were traders by nature. They built an empire not by being strong in battle, but by being strong in business. Their merchants were everywhere in civilized space, and their intelligence network was better than any government's. Most of the time, the Guild Council met to talk about trade routes and market trends. This meeting was different. We need to change our whole assessment of the human economy, Guild Master Prentok said, pointing to the holographic displays that showed trade data for humans. Look at these numbers. For the last 50 years, we've called human markets minor and developing. We've given them the worst trade deals, charged them the most in station fees, and generally treated them like they didn't matter in the economy. Because they were, said another guild master. They didn't have a lot of factories, a small fleet of ships, or a lot of political power. Had, Prentok stressed. Past tense. That assessment is no longer valid. A species with this level of technology is not minor or developing. They could be the most valuable trade partners in 3 sectors. He opened a new projection that showed possible trade scenarios. Think about this. If people can use this propulsion technology on cargo ships, and they clearly can. Since it was on a freighter, they can move goods faster than anyone else in the galaxy. Shipping times drop by 10 times or more. Things that used to take months to move now take days. Whole trade routes become useless. The economic effects are huge. There was a lot of talking in the council chamber as the merchants figured out what was going on. Someone said, they could undercut every shipping company in the galaxy. Another person said, they could take over the freight markets in a few years. We need to make trade deals with Earth right away, Prentok said. And not the unfair deals we've been making. Real partnerships with fair terms. We'll give them access to their shipping technology in exchange for access to their markets, resources, infrastructure investment, whatever they want. The guild that gets an exclusive contract with humanity will control trade in the galaxy for the next 100 years. But what if they don't want to share the technology? A merchant who wasn't sure asked. Then we still want to work with them, Prentok said. Even if we can't get the drive technology directly, we can still use it in other ways. Humans can move our goods, speed up our logistics, and give us an edge over other guilds. Either way, we can't treat humans like they're primitive anymore. People in other parts of the galaxy were having the same kinds of talks. The Threxanael Military Command. General Corvash read the tactical analysis with more and more worry. The Threxanael were warriors from a proud military culture that had conquered 40 systems using better tactics and technology. They valued strength and looked down on weakness. People have always been in the weak group. Not anymore. This changes everything, Corvash said to all of his commanders. We've been planning to move into the Terran frontier for 5 years. Those plans are now useless. Sir, they're still just people, one commander said in protest. We have thousands of warships, but they only have one ship with advanced technology. One ship that could destroy our whole fleet by itself, Corvash said harshly. Did you see the recordings of the encounter? I did. A lot. That human ship made the Zephyr fleet, which is about as strong as ours, look like old sailing ships trying to catch a jet plane. The speed advantage is absolute. The maneuverability advantage is absolute. We would lose in any fight. Completely. He drew attention to a few systems on the strategic map. We were going to take these human colonies by force. That plan is now suicide. If humanity has even a few ships with this technology, they could destroy our invasion fleet before we even fire a shot. They could attack our supply lines, destroy our reinforcement convoys, and hit our home systems before we could organize a response. Well, what do? Asked another commander. We don't make them mad, Corvash said firmly. We stay neutral in diplomatic matters. We start conversations. We make it clear that we don't want to hurt Earth or its territories. Then we wait. We watch. We learn. If humanity has weaknesses, we'll find them. If their technology has limitations, we'll find them. But until then, we treat them like the military threat they've shown themselves to be. Someone said, the soldiers will see this as cowardice. Corvash said, the soldiers will think this is a smart move. We don't fight battles we can't win. We don't waste lives on lost causes. Humanity has shown that it has better technology. We accept that and change our strategy. Any commander who thinks differently is welcome to challenge a human ship in person. I'll watch the recording of their defeat from my command center. At the end of the meeting, Threxanael's policy toward humans changed completely. Plans for growth were put on hold. The defenses along the border were made stronger. And quiet diplomatic moves started. The community of scientists. The effect may have been strongest among the galaxy's scientists and researchers. The human propulsion system wasn't just a game changer for the military or the economy, it was a fundamental challenge to their understanding of physics. Dr. Zentar, one of the galaxy's most respected theoretical physicists, had been trying to explain the Joker drive for 3 weeks. She had not succeeded. Every model she made, every equation she came up with, and every simulation she ran all came to the same conclusion. What the people had done was impossible. This meant that either the data was wrong or they didn't fully understand physics. It had to be the second option because dozens of ships from different species had confirmed the data. We're missing something important, she told her research team during an emergency meeting. The humans have found or made something that works outside of what we think we know. This is more than just a propulsion system. This shows that our model of the universe is wrong or at least not complete. What should we do? A junior researcher asked. Dr. Zentar said simply, we start over. We look for holes in our knowledge by going back over all of our ideas about spacetime, velocity, and dimensional physics. Then we politely ask the humans if they would be willing to share their theoretical research, because right now they are the only ones who know what they have made. At the end of the symposium, A research group made up of people from different species was formed to study human propulsion technology. More than 60 universities and research centers took part. They realized that humans had jumped ahead of the whole galaxy in at least one area of study. The question was, what else had they learned that no one else had? Earth Strategic Command. Admiral Rebecca Foster stood at the Strategic Command observation window and looked down at the blue-green planet below. The Earth. Oh. The world that had been called primitive, made fun of for being new to galactic civilization, and generally treated like an annoying new person. The world that was now the most important thing in the galaxy. She asked her assistant for a status report. The aide said, "We've gotten 147 formal meeting requests from diplomats. 63 trade proposals, 42 offers to work together on research, 31 defense treaties, 18 requests for technology licensing, and 1 marriage proposal from a Zephyr noble who thinks that family ties would help the alliance." Foster couldn't help but grin. 3 weeks ago, no one would respond to our diplomatic messages. Now everyone wants to be our friend. Ma'am, the Joker Drive demonstration had the desired effect. It did. Maybe too well. Foster turned away from the window. Have we gotten any news from Captain Webb and his crew? Yes, ma'am. They're still following their normal trade route as ordered. They are currently docked at Epsilon Station and there have been no unusual events. Good. Keep them on their regular tasks. The more normal they seem, the better. How do we respond to the diplomatic requests, ma'am? Foster thought about the question very carefully. This was the hard part, finding the right balance between using their new status and not looking too eager or pushy. Meet with the major powers, the Zephyr Collective, the Kreltari Guild, the Threxanael Command, and the Valkyrie Union. Be polite, but don't make any promises. Let them pitch us and show us what they have to offer. And what about the request for technology licenses? Polite refusals. We're not ready to share the Joker Drive technology with anyone. Maybe in 10 years, maybe 20, but not now. We need to keep the edge while we build up our capabilities. Some species won't like it when you say no, ma'am. Then they'll learn a lesson about respect, Foster said firmly. For decades, we've been told that we needed the galaxy more than they needed us. That we should be thankful for any scraps of technology or trade deals they gave us. But now the tables have turned. They need us, or at least they think they do. We're going to use that perception to make sure that Earth stays a major power. Some people are worried that we're being too aggressive, the aide said carefully. That we're making potential allies angry. Foster said, there is a difference between aggression and confidence. We're not threatening anyone or making demands. We're just not going to let anyone take advantage of us. The species that can respect that will make good partners. The ones that can't? We don't want them as partners anyway. She pulled up a map of the galaxy that showed where humans lived. It was a small group of systems that looked small next to the empires around them. Humanity is weak right now, Foster said. We have 17 colonies, 53 military ships, and a small fraction of the population of any major power. The Joker Drive gives us a strategic edge, but it doesn't make us invincible. We need time to grow, expand, and build up our strength. The diplomatic mess we've made gives us that time. While everyone is arguing about how to deal with us, we're working on ships 2 through 50 of our Joker Drive fleet. How long until we have a lot of deployment? 1 squadron will take 18 months. A full fleet will take 3 years. We won't be able to call ourselves a major military power for 5 years, Foster said with a smile. By then, the galaxy will have spent so much time fighting over what to do with humans that we will have become an unassailable fact. The chance to easily take over will have passed. It's a risky game, ma'am? Yes, it is, Foster said. But this is the game we have to play. We showed the galaxy our secret weapon, and now we have to turn the fear, respect, and uncertainty it caused into long-term political and economic benefits. Captain Webb and his crew gave us the chance. Now we have to take advantage of it. Epsilon Station, the Ancient One. Marcus Webb sat in a quiet bar on Epsilon Station, sipping a drink and watching the news. There was a lot of talk about the human propulsion mystery, on every channel. Politicians talked a lot. Military experts made up scenarios. Scientists came up with ideas. There was grainy video of his ship in the middle of it all, making the Zephyr fleet look stupid. Being famous is strange, Sarah said as she sat down next to him. She had just gotten off work and had obviously decided that drinking was the right thing to do after what had happened. We're not famous, Marcus said to correct him. The ship is famous. As far as anyone knows, we're just regular cargo haulers who happen to be flying it. Still strange. I walked by 3 different groups today talking about the Joker Drive. No one knew who I was, but they were talking about something I helped make and run. She stopped. Something that has changed the whole galaxy. How did it change? Jake asked, coming up behind Thomas and joining them. It looks like everyone on the crew agreed that this talk needed to happen. Well, for one thing, we don't get insulted anymore, Thomas said. Since the encounter, I've docked at 6 stations. Not one rude comment or primitive human remark. People are being polite now. Fear makes people respect you, Marcus said. Not the best kind of respect, but it works. Did we do that? Sarah asked. Made fear. Marcus thought about the question. We made things uncertain. We questioned what people thought. We showed that underestimating has effects. Fear is just a normal reaction to those things. Jake said, Earth Command seems happy, as he looked at a message on his phone. They're saying our mission was a complete success. They've even given us extra pay for the risks we took. Thomas said in a dry voice, How nice of them. We only changed the politics of the galaxy for good. To be fair, Marcus said, we did exactly what we were told to do. They planned this protest down to the last detail and we just carried it out. Sarah said, It still feels strange. 3 weeks ago we were nobody. Now we're the crew that humiliated the Zephyr fleet. Now we're the people who proved humanity belongs in space. Do we belong? Jake asked quietly. Really? We've got one amazing piece of technology, but everything else about us is still catching up. We're still the smallest major fleet and the newest civilization. Take away the Joker drive and we're back to being the underdogs. Maybe that's not a bad thing, Marcus said. People don't think you're as good as you are when you're the underdog. And as we've shown, being underestimated is a good thing. Until someone stops underestimating us, Thomas said. Then we rely on skill, determination, and creativity, Marcus said. The things that got us here in the first place. The Joker drive is cool, but it's not what makes us unique. What makes us unique is that we don't give up. We don't accept limits. We don't let other species tell us what we can or can't do. He raised his glass. To underestimation. May our enemies keep making that mistake and may we keep proving them wrong. The crew echoed, clinking glasses. Around them, Epsilon Station was still busy with thousands of beings from dozens of species going about their business. Most of them had no idea they were in a bar with the most famous crew in the galaxy. That was exactly how Marcus wanted it. The best weapon wasn't the one everyone saw coming, it was the one they never saw at all. Earth Orbital Station, Diplomatic Wing. 6 weeks after the encounter, Commander Zalthor had fought against enemy fire, sped through asteroid fields, and led fleets through space anomalies that would have scared less experienced officers. But while he was waiting to be led into the human diplomatic chamber, he felt more nervous than he had in years. He was going to say he was sorry. The Zephyr Collective didn't say they were sorry. They won. They were in charge. They set the rules. It was almost impossible to imagine a Zephyr commander saying sorry to a species they had been making fun of for years. But there he was. A young woman with professional demeanor and smart eyes opened the door and motioned for him to come in. She was a human diplomatic aide. Commander Zalthor, Ambassador Chin is ready to see you now. The office of the ambassador was surprisingly simple. Most galactic powers prefer big, fancy rooms, but this one was simple and useful. Ambassador Margaret Chin sat at a plain desk and looked over papers on a holographic screen. When Zalthor walked in, she looked up and he was struck by how human she looked. Not a threat. Not very good. Just a normal member of a species he thought was primitive. A species that had made him very, very wrong. Commander Zalthor, Chin said, pointing to a chair. Please take a seat. Would you like something to drink? No, thank you, Ambassador. Zalthor sat down in the chair, which had been made to fit Zephyr physiology. This small detail showed how polite humans can be. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. Of course, the Zephyr Collective is a very important neighbor. We're always ready to talk. Chen's voice was polite, professional, and completely neutral. She didn't give anything away. Zalthor had written a speech. He had been practicing it for days, working with diplomatic advisors to find the right mix of humility and strength. But now that he was face to face with this woman, who had probably seen the recordings of his fleet's defeat, the words he had prepared felt empty. I'm here to say I'm sorry, Ambassador, he said simply. For the way I acted when we met the freighter Ancient One. For making fun of your ship and crew. Because I was arrogant and didn't care. I was wrong to judge people by how they looked instead of how well they could do their jobs. Profoundly, completely wrong. Chen's face softened a little. That was surprisingly direct, Commander. Zalthor said, I'm a military officer, not a politician. I believe in facing the truth, and the truth is that I acted badly. I was rude to Captain Webb and his crew. Their boat made me laugh. I looked down on people. And in response, they showed skills that are better than anything the Zephyr Collective has. I deserve to be ashamed. Chin said, I've listened to the logs of that conversation. Your words were harsh. They were unforgivable. But here you are, asking for forgiveness anyway. Not forgiveness, Zalthor said. Maybe understanding. A chance to get over my mistake and make something better. The Zephyr Collective wants to set up official diplomatic ties with Earth. We would like to suggest a trade agreement, a mutual defense pact, and programs for cultural exchange. Chin leaned back in her chair and looked at him with eyes that missed nothing. That's a big change from where you were before. What was different? Do you mean besides seeing your freighter make my fleet look bad? Zalthor let himself look sad. Ambassador, the Zephyr Collective has been the most powerful military force in this area for hundreds of years. We got used to being in charge. Even rude. We thought that our experience in technology made us better than newer civilizations that traveled through space. Especially people, Chin said. Yes. Especially people. You were easy to ignore because you were so small, new to space, and seemed so primitive. When we looked at your ships, we saw junk. We looked at your lands and saw that they didn't matter. We made the oldest mistake in war. We judged you by how you looked instead of how good you were. Zalthor got up and walked to the window to look down at Earth. The blue planet that gave rise to a species that could change the world. He asked quietly, do you know what's been keeping me awake these past few weeks? It's not the embarrassment, though that is bad. It's the realization of how much danger I put my fleet in by not knowing better. We couldn't have stopped Captain Webb if he had been hostile and wanted to kill us. Every ship I was in charge of could have been destroyed, and it would have been my fault for not taking the threat seriously. Chin said, Captain Webb is not a bad guy. And people don't want to fight. Which makes my actions even worse. You weren't making threats against us. You were just trying to finish a trade run. And I chose to make fun of you for, what? Fun. To make me feel better about myself? He turned around to look at her. Ambassador, the Zephyr Collective wants to make things right. We want to build a relationship based on respect for each other, not on who is higher up. What does it mean to respect each other? Chin asked. Equal partnership. Terms for fair trade. Shared information about threats in the area. Working together on scientific research. Understanding that humanity is not a small power to be tolerated, but a large civilization to be respected. That's a big change in policy. It's a change that needs to happen. Ambassador, I'm going to be honest with you because I think you'll value honesty more than diplomatic dancing. The Zephyr Collective is scared. Chin was clearly surprised by that. Afraid of what? Of you. Of people. Of other things you might have made that we don't know about. Just your propulsion technology has changed the balance of power in this area. But propulsion is only one area of study. What else have you learned? What other new ideas are hiding under surfaces we've thought were old-fashioned? Zalthor leaned in and spoke in a serious tone. We're worried that our pride has turned us into enemies. People are afraid that they will remember every insult, every dismissal, and every condescending comment, and they will decide that we are not worth having as allies. We're worried that we've missed our chance to build a good relationship. For a long time, Chin was quiet. Then she got up and walked to her own window where she stood next to Zalthor. You want the truth? She asked. Here is honesty. Yes, people remember. We remember every kind of animal that acted like a child. Every trade deal took advantage of how little we knew. Every diplomatic snub. Every rude comment. We've been the galaxy's joke for decades, and yes, that hurt. We were angry. It made us want to show that we could do it. She turned to look him in the eye. But we don't want revenge. We don't want to get back at you. We want what you're offering, respect. Acknowledgement. Fair treatment. You are the first major power to offer that without asking for our technology or putting any conditions on it. That matters. So, will you think about the Zephyr proposal? We'll think about it. But Commander, you need to know something. The Zephyr Collective isn't the only thing that affects Earth's diplomatic position. In the last 6 weeks, we've gotten proposals from many different civilizations. Everyone wants something from us. Deals on trade. Alliances between militaries. Sharing technology. Most of them are from the same species that wouldn't even look at us 2 months ago. And you don't believe the sudden interest, Zalthor said, understanding. Wouldn't you? It's hard to believe in real respect when it only shows up after we've shown strength. It feels like a deal. Zalthor said, it is transactional. I won't lie to you, The Zephyr Collective's interest in formal relations is directly related to how good you are with technology. But Ambassador, isn't all diplomacy based on deals to some extent? The question is if the deal is fair. If both sides gain something. Whether respect is present along with the practical concerns. Chin smiled a little. You're more honest than most diplomats I've worked with. As I said, I'm in the military. I'm not good at politics. But I know strategy, and from a strategic point of view, it makes sense for both of us to be allies with the Zephyr Collective. You get a strong ally with a lot of land and a strong military. We get a partner with cutting-edge technology and new ideas. We are stronger together than we are alone. What about the other people in the collective? Chen asked. Is everyone okay with this change in policy? To be honest, some more than others. Some people still think of humans as upstarts who got lucky with one big idea. The council has voted, and it's clear what the official position is. Earth should be treated as an equal partner. Chen went back to her desk and opened a diplomatic document. I'll have to talk to my bosses first, but I can tell you this. Earth wants to talk. We're open to trade deals, cultural exchanges, and maybe even sharing some technology in areas that aren't too sensitive. A full military alliance would need more talks and probably won't happen very soon. Yes, we can build something here, though. Zalthor said, that's more than I hoped for. But, Chen went on, her voice getting more serious, there are conditions. First, the Zephyr Collective needs to say in public that humans are a major civilization. No more rude comments. Stop treating us like we're stupid. We want respect to be more than just something people say in private. Agreed. Second, we want to be able to use Zephyr's scientific databases, especially the ones that have research on advanced propulsion theories and dimensional physics. We don't want military secrets, we just want to know more about school. We'll give you some of our non-classified research in materials science and energy efficiency in return. Zalthor thought about this. It was a fair request, an academic exchange instead of a transfer of technology. I think the council will agree with that. Third, we need Zephyr's help to set up a human embassy in your capital system. Not just a trade office but full diplomatic recognition. Also okay. Chen's face got serious as she said, and finally, we want the Zephyr Collective to speak up for us with the Krentax Dominion. That made Zalthor stop in his tracks. Why the Dominion? Because they have been aggressively moving into neutral space close to our borders. They've been very open about wanting to take some of our outer colonies. They thought we were easy targets before our demonstration. They are being more careful now that they know what we can do, but we have information that they are looking for ways to fight our technology. You want us to tell them to leave us alone. We want you to make it clear that any aggressive actions against Earth would be seen as hostile actions against the Zephyr ally. The Dominion values strength. A statement from the collective would mean something. Zalthor was impressed. Chen wasn't just making a simple deal, she was using it to deal with security issues right away. Smart. He said carefully, I can't promise the council will agree, but I'll tell them what you think. The Dominion is hard. But if Earth becomes an official partner of Zephyr, then yes, we would have to protect our allies' interests. Chen said, then we have a reason to talk, and she held out her hand in the human way of saying yes. Zalthor held it, feeling the strange warmth of human skin against his crystal hand. One more thing, Ambassador, he said as he got ready to leave. Captain Webb. Does he have any bad feelings toward me? Chen grinned. Captain Webb is a pro. He was doing his job just like you were doing yours. I think he was happy with how you reacted to his demonstration, but he doesn't hold grudges. Why? I'd like to talk to him at some point, to say sorry in person, and maybe to learn more about the mind that could pull off such a perfect strategic move. I'll pass on your request. I can't speak for Captain Webb, but I think he would like the gesture. Zalthor felt lighter than he had in weeks when he left the diplomatic wing. The meeting went better than I thought it would. Earth was ready to get involved. There was a chance for a relationship. The Zephyr Collective had a second chance. He was determined not to throw it away. On the Ancient One, Marcus Webb read Ambassador Chen's message with mixed feelings. Commander Zalthor wants to see you, Sarah said as she read over his shoulder. The commander of the Zephyr who called our ship garbage wants to talk to us in person. He wants to say he's sorry, Marcus said. Do you think it's real? Marcus thought about the recordings he had seen of Zalthor's meeting with diplomats. The commander seemed honest, almost weak when he said he was wrong. Finally, Marcus said, I think he's a military officer who got outplayed and is smart enough to learn from it. I think he's really ashamed of how he acted. And I think he's doing the best he can to make things right. So you'll see him? Maybe. It would be good for Earth's diplomatic standing. And to be honest, I'm interested. I want to know how someone can go from making fun of us to asking us to join forces in 6 weeks. Thomas said from his station, fear is a strong motivator. Marcus said, respect is too. Maybe we deserved both. He wrote back to Ambassador Chin, saying that he was open to meeting with Commander Zalthor. He thought about how much had changed in such a short time as he sent it. They were nobody 6 weeks ago. No longer needed. Offended. Not enough thought about. They were now at the center of diplomacy in the galaxy. And it all started with a simple example of what happens when you judge a ship by its hull. 7 weeks after the meeting, Krentak's Dominion War Council chamber. The room was made to scare people. The obsidian walls were 30 meters tall and had carvings of Krentak's military victories from 1,000 years ago. In the middle was War Master Drakmor, whose huge body was covered in ceremonial armor made from bones of enemies he had killed. 12 generals and fleet commanders stood around him in silence. They were looking at the recording. Again. Stop here, Drakmor said. The picture stopped on the Ancient One, in the middle of a blur, as it made a turn that shouldn't have been possible through the Zephyr formation. Look at this move. Explain how it's done. General Vexthal, the Dominion's top military strategist, stepped up. War Master, we've looked at this recording 247 times. We've done simulations. We've talked to our best physicists. The answer is always the same. The humans have made a propulsion system that doesn't follow the rules of physics. Then make an unusual counter, Drakmor growled. It's not that easy, War Master. We don't get the basic ideas. The energy signature doesn't match any known technology. The spatial distortions point to something we can't even imagine. Are you saying that the Krentak's Dominion, which conquered 40 worlds, destroyed the Valkyrie resistance, and is the most feared military power in 3 sectors, was defeated by technology we don't understand? Drakmor cut in, his voice dangerously low. No, War Master. What I'm saying is that we need time to. We don't have time. Drakmor slammed his huge fist on the table, making the holographic display flicker. For 3 years, we've been getting ready to take over the human colonies. We've been planning, allocating resources, and positioning our fleet. The humans were supposed to be easy targets, but they've shown skills that could ruin our whole plan for expansion. He stood there, pacing around the table like a hunter. Do you know what our intelligence reports say? In the 7 weeks since this incident, every major power has tried to make friends with humanity. The Zephyr Collective is suggesting an alliance, the Kreltari Guild is offering trade deals, and even the Valkyrie Union, the species we almost wiped out, is trying to make deals with humans. Another general said, the galaxy is realigning itself. That's right. If we don't do anything, we'll be on the outside of that realignment. The humans are becoming a major power whether we like it or not. The question is, what do we do? Vexthal pulled up a map that showed the territories of humans and the Dominion. We have 3 choices, War Master. First, we could try direct military action, attack human colonies before they can fully use their new technology. This would be risky because we don't know how many ships have this drive, and even one could destroy our invasion fleet. Second choice. Engagement and diplomacy. Suggest non-aggression pacts. Maybe even talks about forming an alliance. This would make sure our safety, but it would mean giving up our plans to expand into human space. Drakmor's face made it clear how he felt about that idea. And the third choice? We use covert action, sabotage, and espionage to steal their technology or find a way to neutralize it without directly confronting them. This option takes longer but may be more effective in the long run. Drakmor said, I want all 3. We'll act like we're being diplomatic in public. We'll act like we're being reasonable. In the meantime, our intelligence division will put all of its resources into getting this technology. And our military will make plans for strike operations if the chance arises. War Master, if the Zephyr Collective joins forces with Earth. Then we'll take care of them as well, Drakmor said. The Zephyr have gotten too comfortable. After losing to a human freighter once, they're ready to bow down and offer friendship. It's sad. They've forgotten what real military strength is. He turned to his council with a stern look on his face. The humans made one mistake. They showed their secret too soon. They showed what they could do before they were strong enough to protect it. That makes them weak. Someone will figure out how to beat their technology. Someone will find their weakness. And I want that person to be us. What about the other powers? They're also trying to get human technology. Let them. While everyone else is being nice and making trade deals, we'll do something more direct. And when we have what we need, we'll remind the galaxy why the Krentak's Dominion is feared. A communications officer came into the room and saluted sharply. War Master, we've gotten a message from Earth that is diplomatic. They want to talk about our borders with each other. Drakmore smiled, but it was a predatory smile that didn't show any warmth. How nice of you. Write back and tell them that the Krentax Dominion is always open to peaceful talks. Invite their diplomats to our capital and make them feel at home. Vexthal spoke softly after the officer left. War Master, you're not really going to? Of course not. But we'll play along. We'll smile and talk while our agents work behind the scenes. The humans think they've changed the balance of power. They think their technology makes them untouchable. They're about to learn that power is about more than speed. It's about being ruthless, having a plan, and being willing to do what others won't. Earth, the Strategic Intelligence Division. Director James Carter looked over the most recent intelligence reports with more and more worry. Earth's diplomatic efforts were going better than expected on paper. People were making alliances. People were talking about trade deals. The position of humans in the galaxy had changed in a big way. But something didn't seem right. He told his chief analyst, Dr. Lisa Park, "Give me the summary of the Krentax response." "Surprisingly good, sir," Park said as he pulled up the right files. "They've agreed to talk about borders. They've asked our diplomats to come to their capital. They've even shown interest in cultural exchange programs. It's almost too helpful given how aggressive they've been in the past. That's what scares me. The Dominion doesn't work together, they conquer. Maybe the Joker drive really scares them? Maybe," Carter said, unconvinced. "Or maybe they're playing a longer game. What do we know about how smart they are?" Park's face got more serious. "That's where it gets interesting. We've seen a big rise in Krentax surveillance activity. They're trying to recruit Earth scientists, hack our databases, and get into our research facilities. It's the same old spying, but it's happening at a much higher level than before. They want to steal the Joker drive tech." "Definitely. The question is whether or not they will be able to do it. Our security measures are strong, but the Krentax intelligence service is very good. In the past, they have stolen technology from the Zephyr Collective." Carter got up and walked over to the wall display that showed the map of the galaxy. Human territory was still small compared to the big powers, but it was in a good place. And now, with the Joker drive, people had power. He made up his mind that, we need to assume the Dominion has hostile intent. Their diplomatic overtures are just a cover for spying and maybe even getting ready for war. I want our intelligence assets to keep an eye on Krentax military movements. Any fleet positioning, resource stockpiling, or strategic communications should be flagged right away. Should we cancel the meeting with the diplomats? No. We go to the meeting and pretend to believe them when they say they want peace. But we send people who can't be compromised, like people who have access to classified Joker drive data. We also use the meeting to gather information. Let's see what we can learn about their abilities while they try to learn about ours. "Sir, there's one more thing I'm worried about," Park said slowly. "The Zephyr Group. What do you think? By making our relationship with the Zephyr Collective official, we're basically choosing sides in galactic politics. The Dominion sees the Zephyr as enemies, so being friends with one could mean fighting with the other." Carter shook his head sadly. "I know. Admiral Foster and I have talked about this a lot. We're on a tightrope. We need friends to keep us safe while we get stronger, but we can't afford to get involved in someone else's war. So what's the plan? Limited engagement. We'll work with the Zephyr on trade, security, and technology exchange, but we won't fully integrate our militaries. We'll stay independent and use their strength as a deterrent. We'll also keep building more Joker drive ships as quickly as we can, because our security depends on our own abilities." Park said, "The Dominion won't like that. The Dominion doesn't have to like it, they just have to respect it. And if they push too hard..." Carter stopped, but it was clear what he meant. "Are we ready for another demonstration?" "Several. Captain Webb and the Ancient One were the first to come on stage. We have other crews, ships, and ways to show that attacking Earth is a very bad idea." The Velcari Union Research Station. Dr. Shinaki looked at the data on how humans move with a sense of awe. The Velcari were first scientists and second warriors. This way of thinking almost got them killed when the Krentax Dominion invaded 20 years ago. They were only saved by a desperate fight and help from the Zephyr Collective. Now, they saw that the technology of humans was more than just a military advantage. They thought there was going to be a scientific revolution. "It's beautiful," Shinaki said softly as she moved the holographic models that showed substrate space theory. "Humans found something we've been thinking about for decades but could never prove. They didn't just prove it, they turned it into a weapon." Veltorin, her research partner, stopped what he was doing and looked up. Weaponized might not be the right word. The humans are using it to move things along. In fact, it's pretty peaceful in use. Any technology that changes the balance of power in the military is a weapon, even if it doesn't fire bullets, Shinaki said. But yes, I see what you mean. What impresses me is how elegant the solution is. They didn't try to break physics, they found a way around it. Have you heard back about your research proposal? Shinaki looked at her messages. Yes, they have. The Earth Scientific Council has agreed to work together. If we share our work on dimensional mathematics, they will share their theoretical research on substrate space. They are interested in our computation models. That's very nice of them, Veltorin said, shocked. Most species are very protective of their new technologies. I think the humans know something that the big powers don't, Shinaki said. Everyone benefits from scientific progress. Keeping knowledge to yourself might help you in the short term, but sharing it speeds up progress for all civilizations. The humans are thinking long-term. Or maybe they're trying to make friends by working together on science. Why not both? Shinaki said with a smile. The humans are smart. They are using their unique ability to think outside the box to make themselves seem like valuable partners instead of threats. They are not trying to take over with military power, they are offering to work together. The Krentax Dominion won't like that. Shinaki's face turned dark. The Dominion doesn't like anything that doesn't involve conquest. But maybe humanity's way of doing things will inspire other species. Maybe we can make a group of civilizations that value working together over dominating others. You're talking about changing the politics of the whole galaxy. How to survive the Dominion's next attempt to expand. They will try again, and when they do, I'd rather have humanity and their revolutionary technology on our side than against us. The old one, deep space. Marcus was going over the intelligence report from Earth Strategic Command when Sarah came up to him with a worried look on her face. Sir, we've noticed strange sensor readings behind us. Marcus looked up quickly. What kind of strange? Intermittent signatures that match cloaked ships. Nothing certain, whoever they are, they're good, but our better sensors are picking up small changes in gravity. We're being followed. It wasn't a question. Looks like it. Do you want me to turn on the Joker and get rid of them? Marcus thought about it. They could easily outrun anyone, but running would show that they had seen someone watching them. It's better to act stupid. Negative. Keep going at the same speed and course. Act like we don't see anything but keep track of everything. I want full sensor records of these distortions. You think it's the Krentax? Maybe. Or maybe it's someone else trying to find out what we can do. Let them think they're being smart. In the meantime, we'll find out more about them. Thomas got involved in the conversation. Sir, if they're willing to follow us into deep space, they mean business with whatever they're doing. Agreed. That means Earth Strategic Command needs to know right away. Write up a full report and send it through secure channels. This is the most important thing. Yes, sir. Marcus went back to the sensor logs and looked at the small patterns that showed where their shadow was. The people outside were good at what they did, but the Joker Drive's unique sensors could pick up on things that regular technology couldn't. Jake, I want you to start plotting random course changes, Marcus said. Nothing obvious, just a merchant ship going off course. Let's see if our friends follow every turn. Testing what they can do? And their determination. If they stick with us through random course changes, we'll know they're specifically targeting us rather than just conducting general surveillance. Over the next 3 hours, the Ancient One made a series of small changes to its path that seemed random. These were the kinds of changes that any cargo ship might make to save fuel or figure out where it was going. Every time, the strange changes in gravity changed to fit. Someone was definitely following them. They're dedicated, Sarah said. The question is, what do they want? Marcus said, to learn how the Joker Drive works. To find weak spots. To get information about targets. You choose. Should we be scared? Marcus thought long and hard about the question. Earth Strategic Command had predicted that surveillance would happen, so it was expected. Someone hiding their ships and following them through deep space, on the other hand, showed that they